On April 14th, hundreds of Occupy Wall Street activists descended on New York Central Park, not to protest, but to take part in Spring Awakening 2012. Occupy Wall Street has been without a home since its eviction from Zuccotti Park last November. And while this hasn't stopped ongoing marches, rallies, attempts at new occupations, frequent foreclosure blockades, or even some sleeping on Wall Street, the movement has been denied a place to gather and hold discussions, which was central to its early success.
We really don't have an organizing location. It just turns out that every time we try to get a bunch of people together to talk about how our economy is a total disaster, the police beat us up. Or they have to, for some reason, clean the park that day. There's a million and one reasons to break up our conversation, so it's very important to have a stable, safe place to hold that conversation in order to figure out what type of country we want to be going forward.
Spring Awakening, which has been in the works since December, provided space and structure for activists to hold both general assemblies, but also break up into specific issue working groups. This provided opportunities for activists across the city to build awareness and support for local struggles, and also plan for upcoming May Day demonstrations. These are some of the voices of the many that took part.
No, it's not a protest, it's like a celebration. This was meant as kind of like a gathering together in the way that Zuccotti was in the beginning too. You know, we're just gathering a little bit further uptown to kind of say, okay, we're here, we're calling our resources, we're all going to be in the same place at the same time, have a huge general assembly, invite all the different boroughs. If you walked around, you saw, you know, Occupy Staten Island, Occupy Astoria, everyone was here.
This today is bringing all the groups together and starting to discuss some of the critical issues that we've been confronting as a movement. And so we've broken off into these groups to talk about many different issues, from healthcare to education, to there's a group even talking about outreach in the neighborhoods and how do we do better neighborhood outreach. So it's an opportunity to come together to share best practices on how to grow the movement and to really plan for May Day, May 1st, and beyond.
Most of you are probably maybe familiar with the fact that here in New York, workers in all industries are not entitled under law to get paid sick days. In New York City, over 1.4 million workers don't have paid sick days. And in the restaurant industry specifically, over 90% of us don't have paid sick days. So for a lot of us, that means we have to make the choice when we're sick between going to work sick or staying home and not getting paid, and possibly facing retaliation from our employer. So in New York City, there is legislation in City Hall that would require almost all employers to give their workers paid sick days industry-wide. It has a veto-proof majority of support in the City Council. Obviously, Mayor Bloomberg opposes it.
If I could just share, because I wanted just to get out the other things that Organizing for Occupation has done. At least the idea is to broaden the housing fight beyond just foreclosures. As you brought up the very good point that, you know, like most of my clients will never have the privilege of living in a house, right? So what are we going to do about renters?
Yeah, I just came out of the education circle, and we were talking about ways to organize around education. One thing that to me is extremely important is to have a youth voice in the conversation. So some youth from El Puente Leadership Center for Community Justice is going to be doing a discussion around it through the arts. Something that is also important is to have it be in their own style. And so just from our conversations here today, the youth bring us energy that is incomparable to what we could do. And they're at the forefront of this issue, and their voices should be heard.
And I came out here today for Spring Revival to bring to Occupy Wall Street the National Day of Resistance Against Mass Incarceration on April 19th. This is a day when cities all across the nation will gather in one loud, clamoring voice to say no against the system of mass incarceration and all of its forms. From the front lines of policing with the stop and frisk policy and racial-based policing, to 2.4 million people in prison, to the loss of prisoners' rights even after they've served their terms, and the badge of shame and dishonor they have to wear for the rest of their lives, and the criminalization of an entire generation of people. On May Day in New York City, you can expect a couple things. One is there are going to be roving actions all around town, theatrical, direct action as well. There's going to be a big coalescence in Bryant Park as well as Union Square at 5:30 p.m.
where we'll have unions, community groups, immigrants' rights groups, Occupy groups all coming together and showing that the 99% is a force to reckon with. And that when the 99% decides to come together and say enough is enough, we're not going to let corporations, we're not going to let greed and corruption rule our lives and our society, that we can make a change and we can come together. And it's the beginning of a month full of activity, not only here in New York City, but across the country. And so I think you're going to be seeing Occupy rearing its head quite a lot in the coming weeks.
Occupiers also had a chance to enjoy the debut of the musical collaboration of the Tax Dodgers, Corporate Loopholes, and the Occuponics.
We're the corporate tax dodgers. We work for the GE and Verizon and Bank of America. None of those corporations pay taxes. In fact, they all get rebates, billions of dollars in rebates, even though they're making great big profits.
It's 1, 2, 3 trillion you're out since we rigged the game. Out to the tax game, flip the bird to the crown. Losers pay taxes, we take rebates. We make the rules for the corporate states. When men stand through the loopholes, we always win. What a game! We're the one, yes, the 1%, and we have no shame.
Thank you for paying our taxes. Tax day is payday for us.
Reporting for The Real News, this is Jessel Noor in New York.